And to provide more analysis, we're joined from Doha by Mr. Justin Thomas Russell, the Global Foreign Policy Center Executive Director. Mr. Russell, welcome to In Focus. Can Australia truly replace China as America's reliable source for rare earth minerals? And at what strategic cost would that be?
Well, good evening, Hanny. Always good to see you. I think it's still unclear if that's the possibility. There's no question that Australia has a ton of raw earth materials, particularly out in the outback. The question is, with the protected indigenous rights that the Aboriginal community has in the middle of the country, where a lot of that would be excavated, does the Australian mining capabilities have the infrastructure to take on that large of a possible order? I think we're still trying to figure that out. Do they have the potential for it? Absolutely, they do. And I think that's a case that Prime Minister Albanese is talking to Trump about today.
Well, is the AUK-US submarine deal, the AUKUS submarine deal, nearing a breakthrough, or is it still hostage to US domestic gridlock?
The reality is that this deal is not going to be an overnight deal. I think everybody knows that. I think even the Aussies know this, and in large part the defense structure in Washington understands this. It's a long-term strategic move to potential threats coming from China as they continue to expand their presence in the South China Sea and further closer to territorial waters to our allies there in Australia and New Zealand. I think the AUKUS deal is something that benefits both sides. It's good for Donald Trump's capacity because there's subs that are going to be built here in the United States. He's been promoting shipbuilding as one of the industries that he truly wants to promote. And quite frankly, it's going to create jobs for Trump. This is also going to give Australia the expanded capabilities of having a nuclear sub capability that they've never had before. They've always had diesel subs. So this is a benefit. I think it's long term, and I think it's going to play into both hands very, very well.
Well, you said that you are doubting the amount of rare earth minerals Australia possesses. So with Trump facing the protests and the government shutdown, is this summit more about a distraction, a foreign distraction, than real alliance building?
Well, just to be clear, when I say that it's unclear, it's not that I doubt that they have the minerals. It's just that can they produce the demand that the U.S. may have if they were to push away from China being a source of that. Regarding your question, is this a distraction? It's Donald Trump. I mean, one day a true strategic partnership bilateral meeting with the head of government of an allied nation, another time is a distraction. So there's really no telling. I think that it's Australia. It's kind of a safe, unless you're Paul Rudd, the ambassador to the U.S., which kind of made it for an awkward moment earlier. But this is Australia. It's a key strategic partner. It's something that's long term. There's been a long term relationship with it. I don't think this is some sort of jazz hands diplomacy. This is a discussion, particularly when it comes not just to AUKUS. Everybody's focused on the AUKUS deal. We also have to look at that. There's a strategic alliance that's been in place for a while called ANZUS, the Australian, New Zealand, U.S. Pact, that kind of gives us a broader South Pacific, Indo-Pacific type of alliance militarily and strategically. So, yeah, there's a lot of key factors in play from a U.S. defense strategy and a national security strategy that makes it a little bit more than jazz hands. But again, it's Donald Trump. We can never tell.
Well, both politicians have a very contradictory style of doing business. How does Albanese's calm diplomacy stand a chance against Trump's transactional style and high-stakes negotiations?
That's a very good question. Here's the thing is, traditionally, Donald Trump likes to be the bull in the china shop. That is how he works. He thrives on that. And quite frankly, some of that has been successful. I give you phase one in the Israeli-Gaza situation. But, when it comes to the longer term relationships, like a NATO, like an ANZUS, uh, those tend to be a little bit more traditional. Albanese is definitely traditional Australian prime minister strategy, where he comes in friendly, comes in as allied with the position of the United States. But I don't think that Albanese is going to play into the hands, like, let's say, like Vladimir Zelensky. I think it's going to be a unique way that Donald Trump might even catch him off guard as to how Albanese approaches Donald Trump in the White House. From what I saw today, he's played it very well. What we don't have is a readout of what happened behind closed doors. Those discussions are going to be key.
Mm-hmm. Well, could this meeting mark the start of a new Western supply chain bloc to counter Beijing's economic coercion?
I don't know, quite frankly. If the question is this going to offset the SCO or the BRICS alliance? The answer is no. Does this possible alliance, whether it's within AUKUS, whether it's an ANZUS, to the raw materials trade? I mean, we also have to look at it from the U.S. side. I mean, from the U.S. side, Donald Trump is going to want fair trade practices when Australia is importing cars. If Qantas wants to buy more airplanes, are they going to buy Airbus or are they going to buy Boeing? The national defense capabilities of the big defense contractors. All of those are going to be part of a larger trade alliance and trade discussions between Australia and the U.S. And I think it could put up a barrier preventing China from getting a foothold in the Australian economy. But I'm not sure that we're ever going to see a full roadblock of the Chinese economic power in Australia. Look, they're closer. There's stronger ties as far as lines of trade between China and Australia, as opposed to shipping everything over from the mainland United States. There's a lot of factors in here, but I think this is going to help secure the U.S. economic position in the Australian economy. I'm not sure it's going to be a roadblock and a stiff arm to China.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think beyond the minerals, the missiles, importing cars, do you think there will be concrete trade concessions made by Australia for Trump's, as a result of Trump's demands?
Well, I mean, Albanese is going to have to sell this back in Canberra. Let's just be clear about this. I mean, we're talking about, trade deals. Australia, who is an ally. I mean, look, under the ANZUS agreement and under, our agreement under the Five Eyes, Australia is a key partner, and they were not protected from Trump's tariff tirade. So, yeah, I mean, what we're hopeful for is that we're going to see coming out of this bilateral meeting at the White House between the prime minister and the president, that there's going to be some sort of settlement and some sort of long-term trade, at least handshake, that kind of takes the tariff war off the table. Because let's be clear, any tariffs that you put on Australian products exported to the United States is going to cause tension, and it just drives. We've seen this recently. Anytime that there's a large scale tariff tirade on any of our ally nations, they're going to look for other sources. We've seen our allies go towards the BRICS alliance and the SCO instead of going to us, because it just makes fiscal sense for their country. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there's hope that there's going to be some sort of an agreement. There's hope that there's going to be some sort of settlement of any sort of tariff argument that's going on. And I'm hopeful that will occur.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Justin Thomas Russell, the Global Foreign Policy Center Executive Director. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.